Hello, welcome to another Career Foundry. Hello, welcome everyone to another Career Foundry event. I'm just going to introduce myself. I am Laura, head of social here at Career Foundry, and today we have a wonderful presentation by Dr. Humera, an introduction to data analytics. We'd love to hear where everyone is joining from, so if you just type on the public chat, on the right-hand side, tell us where you're joining from. We'd love to see that. And just a little bit about Career Foundry before I give Dr. Humera the floor. We're an online school, and we teach data analytics, UI design, UX design, web development, and digital marketing. And we help everyone get a job in tech. On our programs, we have a dual mentorship model with a mentor and a tutor, but we also have career specialists, and everybody's here to support you and help you get that dream job in tech. Now, to introduce Dr. Humera. Dr. Humera is a data scientist and an entrepreneur. She has over 20 years of professional experience, both from academia and the industry, with majors in computer vision and machine learning. And she's the CTO and co-founder of German startup For Pilots, aimed to develop an artificial intelligence-based driver safety system. We are very, very happy to have her here with us today, and I hope everyone enjoys the webinar. I'll now give Dr. Humera the floor, and I'll disappear into the background and come back after the webinar. So Dr. Humera, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Laura. Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be here, and I hope and pray that this 1 hour webinar is actually exciting for you as well. And a few words about myself. As Laura said, I am Dr. Humera, and I've been associated with data analytics and machine learning for over 20 years, and I've actually wore several hats in these 20 years. So I started with academia and really went deep down into research of machine learning and data science, then moved towards the industry and really had hands-on experience leading teams with data analysis and especially big data analysis. And then I took another hat over my head and moved towards entrepreneurship and really applied all my learnings of data science, data analysis, and machine learning, and really started developing products that can be used actually to save lives. And this actually brings me to this point that data is amazing because it's everywhere and you just name the field and you have data. So right now you are attending a webinar and you are already generating data, you are already consuming data. Whenever you go to Google and you search for anything, you are generating data. Whenever you are checking your weather forecast, you are generating data. Whenever you are looking at the traffic or anything, a TV program or a new course or a career change, you are actually consuming data, you are producing data. And that actually brings me to the point that data analysis is an amazing field. I've been in this field for over 20 years and I never felt that it's getting obsolete. It's always, every time it's getting as attractive as before and as important as before. With all the digitization that's happening out there, we have already seen how the digital transformation has happened. Companies have gone really remote and digital, and that has generated even more data, and the opportunities for data analysis have grown as such. And just to showcase you what I mean to say, what I'm trying to say is just go to your LinkedIn or any job portal and search for data analysis. I just did that for you, and let me quickly share my screen and I'll be able to show you a quick glance into how data analytics jobs out there look like. This is my LinkedIn, and what I've done is I've come to the jobs section and search for data analysis or data analyst and look at the 55,000 job results that I just got, and this is only in Germany. And if I look a little bit deeper into which domains these jobs are coming from, we can see that they are Eon, which is a digital technology company. We see this for process and digitalization. we see that there is Babel, which is, that language learning institute. There is technical data analyst in Mamgo, and Mamgo is, let's see what this is, like even companies that we haven't even heard of before, but they are offering, it's a recruiting software. So you talk about recruitment, you need a data analyst there. You talk about language learning, you see data analysis there, and you see process mining, you see data analysis there. So I really do not need to make a point that how much data analysis has a scope. And interestingly, this brings me to the other point that you may imagine that if this is such an attractive field, maybe it's very difficult to get started with it, but actually it's not. It's one of those fields where you it's one of the most suitable fields for even career changers, and it's such a broad field that it offers something for people who have huge love for math and huge interest and expertise in mathematics and programming, to those people who have no interest in math and who have no programming background. And this is what I would like to showcase to you today. We'll have a quick look today. Let me go back to the slides. I'll stop sharing the screen so that you can check out. Yes. Stop sharing. So I hope you can see the slides, and I want to quickly showcase to you the data analysis pipeline. And in today's rest of the 54 minutes, I would like to take you through this pipeline and its 5-step process. And if you are absolute beginner to data analysis, this will actually give you a very good starting point from scratch, how this pipeline looks like and how you can really build a little uh, pipeline yourself. So as you can see on the slides, it's a 5-step process. And actually, I would add a 0th step as well, which is requirement specification. So you start with imagining a problem that you want to solve. It could be any problem. It could be a weather forecast problem. It could be a cryptocurrency price prediction problem. It could be the road safety driver analysis problem. It could be ad detection problem, and you name it. You identify what problem you want to solve, and then you go about collecting data. You collect the data, and since you know the problem that you are going to solve, you have an idea of what data to collect. We'll have a look at each of these steps in a bit. But once you'll collect the data, maybe you'll decide that you can download the data from available online resources. Or you may decide that I want to collect my own data, and you decide to put sensors on the ground and collect your own data yourself. Or you may want to have a mix of those two things. It depends on you. But it starts with data collection. Once you'll collect the data, you'll see that the data is very unclean. And by unclean data, I mean there can be problems with data while it was collected. Maybe the sensor shut down for a few seconds and you were not able to receive the data. Maybe you were conducting a survey and some people didn't respond to certain questions. So you have a missing value or more missing values. Maybe it's possible that because of transmission, some data points got corrupted. It's also possible that there are duplicates in the data. We'll go into a little bit more detail when we cover that step. But understand that after data collection, you need to clean up the data, because there is a very common popular saying which says garbage in, garbage out, and your data is as good as your data is, as good your analysis is going to be. So if your data is not good, your analysis will be skewed. So, and this is one of the steps where we as data analysts have to and should spend the most time. Because again, garbage in, garbage out. So we need to clean that in. And next we move on to the descriptive analysis. So this is where now our data is clean and we start some analysis and we check out some preliminary information. And some simple things like checking the average of certain values, checking, sorting the data, and that even that little exercise of sorting the data and placing them, arranging them in ascending or descending order will uncover some pattern for you, and you'll be able to already make some business decisions, some decisions about the quality of your data, and identify some trends. And next comes in exploratory analysis. And this is where you go further deep down into the data and you do exploration. And this can be subdivided into multiple steps where you need to identify what you want to find. So identify the questions and identify the answers. And finally, once you have done all the analysis, then you would like to present those analysis to your audience, and your audience could be technical audience, it could be a non-technical audience in the sense that finance people may want to have some information from the data, or sales, or the management team, as I said, technical colleagues. So based on who your audience is, you would modify or present your data accordingly. And we'll now go into each of these steps and check out how we can do that. And let's start with step number one, getting the data. Getting the data means, as I just said, you know your problem and now you want to get the data. As a beginner into data analyst, since you are not in the industry at this point in time, somebody else is not telling you, hey, solve this problem for me. To get started, you would like to explore the publicly available data sets. I'll now restart sharing my screen, and we'll have a look at some data sets. So I'm now sharing my screen, and it should be visible. We have already checked out this. So CareerFoundry has a very amazing blog where it says 10 great places to find free data sets for your next project. So if you are just getting started, just check out this blog, and this will indicate to you where you can find data sets for trying out. And the best thing about this blog is that it not only tells you the best places to find data, it also tells you for which kind of data set is which kind of portal the best. So, and I must say that the first thing to check out is actually Google itself. So just log it, not, you don't even have to log into Google, just go to Google and search for free data sets, and you'll see a lot of data sets there. Another one, which is my personal favorite and one of the most popular portals or websites or a community place for data analysts, data lovers, data scientists, is Kaggle. So when you go to Kaggle, and I've opened this for you, you can actually see a lot of data sets, not only the ones which are trending at this point in time, but also the popular ones. And you can even see data sets with respect to different topics. So for example, music related data sets, business related data sets, computer science related data sets, and you name it. And if you don't like anything that you see here, you can at any time search for your favorite data set. So if I want to search for anything related to food delivery, and no surprise, I just search for food delivery and hit enter, and Kaggle is going to then give me a list of everything related to food delivery, and I can then pick and choose which data set I want to go about with. And you can filter them with respect to their hotness, with respect to their frequency, the badges that they have attained, how many people have interacted or downloaded with them, and so on and so forth. Continue with that. Just check this out. There are government related data sets. There are machine learning related data sets, environment related data sets, and as I said, you name it, the data is there. Just search for it. For this session, what I want to do now is we thought of exploring a food delivery data set, and that data set is already with you. It's in the handout section on the right as an Excel. If you do not find it, I can quickly show it to you how you can find it online. So it's a Kaggle data set, and it's called food delivery system. So you can simply go to kaggle.com. Under datasets 1001, you can look for food delivery system. And when you look at this dataset, typically you will find a lot of information on the page about the dataset as well. I don't want to spend too much time exploring what the authors are saying about this data set, and they are not saying much about it anyways. We can simply go and download the data set. As I said, you can directly download the data set from the handout section. It's already there. If for some reason, for any new data set, you want to download it yourself, you simply go to the data set, right click on the right side, hit download, and it downloads. Uh, as we can see, it has downloaded it by the name of archive.zip. I can actually check this out. I'll unzip this by double clicking, and here is my food delivery.xls dataset. You may find the data sets in several formats. This one is, for example, an XLS format. There could be in a CSV format as well, which is comma separated values. You will find out more about how to, what would be different in case it's not XLS, rather it's CSV. And now let's open this up. If you have Excel installed and if you prefer to use Excel, you can simply double click this and you can open this data set on your Excel. But for this exercise, we are going to use Google Sheets. If you have a Google account, opening a Google Sheet is not a problem. So you go to google.com, and on the right side, there is this Google Apps. And I am already logged in with my account. If you don't have an account, you can create a Google account without any problem. Just go to google.com and it will give you all signing up instructions. Anyways, and now you are here, you want to go to Google Sheets. Google Sheet is the Google version of Excel, and they both offer more or less the same functionality. I click on Sheets and I go to my home place, and I can create a blank sheet. And this is where we will get started. We have just downloaded our dataset. Let's open this up in Google Sheet. So I go to File and I can import or open. So I'm opening. I need to upload this data because it's on my local computer, and I can drag a file. So I can simply come to my Finder, and I can also, but you cannot see my Finder. So what I'll do is I'll click on select a file. I'll go to downloads because this is where I have downloaded this, and then I'll pick fooddelivery.xls and I'll click open, and this will now upload the data, and this will populate the data that we have just downloaded into this Google Sheet. I'll enlarge my screen a little bit so that you can see a little bit more clearly, but not too much, otherwise it will be too much in the face. Now you may have noticed that my title of the sheet has become food delivery, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns. And if I go to the end, I see 446 rows. 446 minus 1 because the first one is the header. So there are 445 data points in this data set. A little bit of terminology just for you to remember in the future. So we just counted there are 8 columns. So these 8 columns represent the 8 parameters or attributes in the data set. Name is an attribute, age is an attribute, number of orders in a month is an attribute, COVID-19 effect of COVID-19 on food ordering habits is a parameter or an attribute, and so on and so forth. And there are from row number 2 till row number 446, so 445 data points. So there are 445 pieces or points of data that we have. And now we have our data ready. And this was the first step. If you quickly recall slides, yep. So if you quickly recall, the step number 1 was getting the data. We just saw you could get it from anywhere online. We just downloaded the data from Kaggle, and now we have imported the data in Google Sheet, and that was our first step. Let's have a look at the data a little bit more and clean it up. As I mentioned in the beginning, there could be several problems with our data, and the most common problems are duplicates, missing values, and the format of data. And let's see how we can actually handle these problems. I'll go back to my screen, and you can see the Google Sheet again. How do I identify that there are duplicates in my data set? To do that, Excel and Google Sheets, they provide, or these data analysis tools, they actually provide certain tools where you can actually, without manually having to look into the data, you can check them out, and you can handle duplicates and clean that up. For that, what we need to do is to select the data first. So you can select the data by selecting the columns by clicking them on their names, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, or you can simply click on the top left, this empty cell, and it will select whole of your data. And then to clean up, you go to data, and then you go to data cleanup, and then you go to remove duplicates. It will ask you if you have a data row or not. So yes, we have a data row because the first row is representing our headings. And which columns to analyze? Yes, we want to analyze all the columns, and we want to analyze everything. And now we select everything, and we click on remove duplicates. It parsed through the whole data, and then it said 2 duplicate rows were found and removed, and now 444 unique rows remain. And this was as simple as this. So you now have no duplicate data. Imagine the problem that a duplicate information can do. So for example, let's say there is a voting scheme, and there is one person who wants to do something, and there are 5 people who do not want to do something, whatever. But that one person who wants to do something, they say 10 times, I want it, I want it, I want it, I want it. And now these are all duplicate values. And if we don't remove the duplicate, that one person's vote will be counted 10 times, thus skewing our data. So it's very important to identify the duplicates and remove them. And we just saw how easily we can do it. Moving on to the next point, there could be missing values. Luckily, this data set in itself is a rather clean data set, but there are a few problems that we can already see. The data set has many empty rows at the end, and that might create a bit of a problem for us. And also, when we were doing the introduction, we saw that it's possible that there are missing values. So how about this value was not there? And now if we are checking out number of orders in a month, and if there are a lot of values which are missing, then again, our data is not going to be correct. And that's why, again, I'm saying garbage in, garbage out. If there are so many values which are missing, we need to handle them. There are a lot of ways, and you can make it as complicated as you want to handle missing data. And one of the simplest way to do is delete the data points that are not completely present, which have missing values. And at this point in time, I'll replug in the values, but let's see how we can identify our missing values and how we can remove them. And to do that, again, you start with selecting the data. And here is a concept of creating a filter. You can create a filter by going into data again, and you click on create a filter. When you do that, you may notice that there is this filter like symbol that came up. And let's see how we can work with it. So let's go now column by column. I'll show you one or two columns, and you can do the rest. And see if there are any missing value in that column, and we want to just highlight those. So let's say in the name field, is there any blank, any missing value? So how I do this is I click on that filter symbol. So it shows me a menu. To begin with, I clear any existing filters and I'll start from scratch. So what do I want? I want to select all those rows where there are blanks in this first column. And I click OK. So there were no missing values, but there were a lot of blank rows at the bottom of our screen. We don't want to have them. So we'll select all of them, and I'll select them by clicking on the first row, going to the bottom, holding a shift, clicking on the last row so that all the rows are selected, and then double click, right click, and then delete selected rows. And now you don't see anything anymore because now there are no such rows where there is a blank in the name column. I go back to my filter and I'll select everything again because now I want to see everything. And now you can see if I go back, go to the bottom, I cannot scroll further below the last row and I only see my data points. Um, That's how you remove the missing values, and thus this is one more step of cleaning up your data. Another way that you may want to clean up your data is to, I imagine something where you have, I'm giving you an example of geographical data. So for example, let's say you have countries country information in this data set as well. So for example, let's say this is an international food delivery application and you have a country code as well. And now imagine some people, let's say in Germany, are typing GERMANY, Germany in English as the country code. But some people might be, some data points might be having Deutschland as the country, and they are representing the same thing. Another one may have added only DE, which is the two alphabet country code for Germany. Or another example, US is a country and USA is the, oops, not double A, single A is the same one. But here, in 5 data points, we are seeing 5 different countries, but they are actually representing 2 countries. And this is another kind of formatting that you may want to do while cleaning up, and so that your data is actually representing the correct interpretation of things. We'll delete this for this point in time, but this could be another thing that you may want to clean up. And this was the second step, data cleanup. And next, moving on to the third step. But before I do that, quickly, Laura, do we have any burning questions?
We do have a few questions, so I'm just gonna say a couple of them and then we can take on the rest of the questions at the end. So first question is, do you need to be a natural at statistics or can that be learned with time?
That can be learned with time.
And the second one is, which tools must a beginner learn from a non-tech background?
If you have absolutely no experience, even what we are doing right now is a very good starting point. So import a data set and start exploring it in Google Sheets. That's a very good starting point.
Great. I think I will leave the rest for the end because I think they're very career-based questions, and let's
Mhm.
dive right back into the exercise.
Cool. All right, then thank you. And I'll move on to the next one, which is descriptive analysis. And descriptive analysis means exploring your data for certain mathematical, um, statistical analysis. And as you can see, you don't need complicated statistics for getting started. Of course, uh, of course, you can make it as complicated as possible when you are averaging something compared to that. If I do a standard deviation of something, sounds fancy, sounds nice, it will give me maybe a little bit more accurate answer, but that's not a bottleneck for us. We will actually start with these very simple items, and like minimum maximum sorting, getting the average, median, and let's see what does that tell us. You may have noticed that all these things which we just saw, they are numerical stuff. So we will actually apply them on the numerical fields that we have. And what do we mean by this? You can see, for example, name is definitely a text-based field. Age is a range. So although we as humans can understand that these are numbers, but the computer cannot understand that these are numbers. They take it as a text. So we are not going to work on that. Let's see this interesting field, number of orders in a month. This is a numerical field because if somebody placed 3 orders and somebody else placed 5 orders, then 5 is more than 3. So this kind of numerical ordering is there, and this is what we will do. Since we are going to do descriptive analysis, it's a good idea to not disturb your original data set. Rather, you create a new sheet by clicking plus, and you give it a nice name. So descriptive analysis is a nice name. Uh, it doesn't have to be nice, but it has to be descriptive. So that just by looking at the sheet name, you should be able to know what this sheet will have. So descriptive analysis. Mhm. And let's give it some heading. So what are we trying to analyze? We are trying to analyze number of orders in a month. So that's our heading. And what kind of statistics do we want to get? Let's say we want to get average and median. I'll quickly let you know what is the difference between average and a median. Um, we'll check the min and the max, and we'll do some sorting that we can do directly. Um, Quickly, what is the difference between average and a median? Let's say you have some data, and the data is 1, 4, 2, 6, and 99. Um, when you calculate the average, you add all of these numbers and you divide by the number of elements. So 1 plus 4 plus 2 plus 6 plus 99 divided by 5. And this is what your average will give you. And how do we calculate an average? There is a way to write a formula in Google Sheets. You start with typing equal to and average, AVE, and you will soon see that Google suggests an autocomplete. So you can click on average. And now under bracket, you can select all the data for which you want to calculate the average. And then you close the bracket and you hit enter, and it's telling you that the average of these 4 numbers, 1 plus 4 plus 2 plus 6 plus 99 divided by 5 is 22.4. Now you may notice that 4 of our 5 numbers are very low. They are less than 10, but one number is very high. It's 99. And our average has moved towards a high number. This is the problem with average, and an alternative is to use median. What does median do is it arranges your data in numerical order. So 1, 2, 4, 6, and 99. And it takes the middle point. So the middle point of this data is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the central one is this 4. So the median of this data will be 4. And in this way, anything which is so-called outlier, maybe there was a typo. It was supposed to be a 9, but I mistyped it as 99. And this could happen with your real data as well. Such outliers are removed. And a quick note on what outliers are. Outliers are lying outside of the normal range of your data. And you can see if you do a median and you select the same original data set and you hit bracket, you see that it's 4 as we just discussed. And this is a better representation of the central point. I hope average and median is clear. So let's calculate the average and median of our data. And to do that, you again start with equal to and you type average and you open the bracket. And now where is our data? It's in the other sheet. So let's go to the other sheet. So I come to sheet 1 and now I want to select the full column C. So I click on this C and it will select the whole column C. So all the data points in column C. And now I close the bracket and hit enter. So it shows me that average number of orders in a month is 4.87. And let's calculate the median in a similar way. And we see that we press equal to, and we start typing median. We autocomplete the median. We go back to our sheet. We select column C. We close our bracket. We hit enter, and our median is 5. When our average and median are very close to each other, it means the data is pretty uniform. If it would have been very different, like in our example, then you know that the data is not very uniform and there are outliers. In a similar way, you can calculate the minimum and the maximum of your data. And oh, wow, we are getting a minimum of 0. How is it possible that somebody ordered 0 times in the month and they still have their data? This is some kind of problem. I don't want to have this data in my data set. So let me filter this out. Remember, this was the cleaning thing that we were doing. And this is very important because you will find out problems in your data as you are progressing in your analysis, and you'll have to go back and clean up your data again and again. You know how to clean up the data. So simply, it's the number of orders in a month, and we create a filter, and we don't want everything. So we clear every previous filter. We simply select 0 and we click OK. And we notice that, oh, wow, there are like 10 to 15 elements where there is a wrong entry of 0 orders in a month. We don't want this. Let's select all of them and delete them. As I said, there are other ways to fix problematic data as well, but we are looking at only one type. Of course, you will have a look at it at the other types if you go more in depth to data analysis. But you may notice that as we remove the zeros, our average has changed, and now our minimum has become 1. So this is the good thing that it automatically updates that. And this is then the last part of descriptive analysis, that we check the max and we select that and we hit bracket and hit enter, and the maximum orders are 10. And with this, we are one step away from descriptive analysis, and that's sorting. So what we can do is select our data and go to data, and you can sort range and you can select advanced sorting options. And this data has a header row, which is the first one. And let's sort our data with respect to orders in a month. And we can sort them in ascending order, so lowest value first, or descending order, so highest value first. And you go, let's say, highest value first, and you sort. So very quickly you see that, yeah, the first entries represent 10. So a lot of people place 10 orders in a month, then a lot place 9 orders, a few, and then a lot place 8, and we can see all the data sorted with respect to number of orders. And that is the end of section number 3 or step number 3, which was descriptive analysis. And now let's move on to exploratory analysis. When it comes to exploratory analysis, you have to identify the scope of your decision, and then you have to identify the questions that you want to answer. And now the interesting thing is, what do we mean by scope of decision? And let's check this out. You are a data analyst, so you may be working with different teams. And looking at this same data set, marketing team may have some other questions. Sales team may want to explore something else. Business may have another question. Tech people may want to have something, they may want to know something else. And your analysis will actually focus on the need of your stakeholder. So for example, the marketing team may want to know which age group should I show the most ads to? Which age group should I target more for loyalty program? So we need to know something related to age group. Sales team might have another question. Which shops are or which locations are doing good? Uh, how much is the average delivery time so that I can identify if I want to open more shops or more delivery rides, have delivery riders over there, or I may want to remove certain area from my services. Business may want to know uh, we are should we change the way we are taking payments? Do we need to add more payment types, or are we good as it is? What are people using to make payments? Are they paying cash? Are they paying card by card? Are they transferring online or using crypto, whatever, PayPal, whatever? This might be a business question, and marketing might not need to be have any interest in whatever type the user is using to pay the bills. They don't care. They are interested in who is making more orders so that we can offer programs to them. The tech people might be interested to know, is there any time of the month, or is there any month of the year, or is there anything where people are all of a sudden placing a lot of orders and my servers might be blocked, so I need to have more servers. So again, the first question, as we just saw, is to identify the scope of the decision so that we can dig into that area deeper. So let's consider, let's say randomly, I picked the first one. We are considering the marketing team. And the marketing team was asking, who is my target audience? Which age group is my target audience? And now you can actually answer a lot of questions related to the age group. So just to read through, how many age groups are there? How many people are placing order within each age group? Is there any trend that we can find out? Is there any trend between age and the amount of money spent by those people? Is there any relation between age and the effect of COVID? Can we identify any trend where age-wise people prefer to have a certain online payment method or another payment method, and so on and so forth? And now, do you notice that all these questions are related to age and some aspects that we can explore with respect to age? Because why? Because our stakeholder is marketing team and they are interested in knowing age related brackets. So now let's go and try out how can we identify these age related trends. And we are done with the step number 1 and 2, that you identify the scope, you identify the questions. Now let's do it. And here we use a method called pivot tables, a feature called pivot tables to answer these questions. And let's go back to our data and do that. What do we want to do? We want to, let's say, count How many times below 18 people have placed an order? How many times 18 to 30? How many times 40 to 50? And so on and so forth. So our question, you need to rephrase it in such a way so that you know which variable I need to attack and what do I need to get out of this column. So now we have a rough idea that we need to consider column age and we need to count something over here. So let's just do this. Before you proceed, you select the data. So on the top left corner, you select the data and under insert, you go and create a pivot table. So you insert a pivot table. It asks you, do you want to insert the pivot table in a new sheet or existing sheet? We'll add it in a new sheet. And this is our new sheet. Let's first rename this and call it age stats or age trends, whatever you can call it whatever you want. And this is a pivot table and we will fill this in. You see that there is a heading called rows, a heading called columns, and a heading called values. What does that mean? Specify what do you want to fill in the rows. So we want the age categories as rows. Let's see what does that mean. On the right side, you see a pivot table editor. You add rows by clicking add, and you are talking about age. When you click that, you will see that all the age categories that were in that column are now represented as a row. And what do we want to have here in the blank cell? We want to have the count of ages. So let's do that. So values are, you add, what do you want? Age. What do you want to do with the age? Remember, we want to count them. And here it by default is counting. You can do a lot of other things as well. If you want to know what is the average uh, distribution, you can also have average, but we wanted to have count. And what does this tell us? That below 18 people are, so there were 427 data points because we cleaned the data, we removed some missing values, zeros and duplicates. And now we see that between the age of 18 to 30, there are 293 orders. 30 to 40, there are 42 orders. 40 to 50, there are 53 orders. Above 50, there are 8 orders. So now marketing team already knows, not very clearly because it's so shuffled, that what is the general trend. And before you do anything with this data, I want to encourage you to create a new sheet and copy the data in that because your pivot table is connected to your original data. And if you continue working on this and for some reason you change your original data, then your pivot table will be affected. And if we don't want to do that, it's very important that we copy this data, we select it and we right click and we say copy and we create a new sheet and we say age trends, uh, whatever, V2. I should have called this as age trends pivot so that I could have used the other name age trends here. And I copy paste this data. And I also want to have the headings. So this is the age category and this is the count. And now I can do certain things with this. So let me sort this. So if I select these two data points and I again go to data, you know how to sort the range and then you can go to advanced range. Data has a header row and we want to sort it with respect to count. And let's say we want to sort with respect to descending order. We do this set to A and you sort this. And now you can actually easily see that um, 293 is the highest group, which is 18 to 30, and our least interesting group is above 50, where only 8 people made an order in the month. And that basically brings us to the end of exploratory analysis. Of course, you can, I'm not making charts now because I'll do it afterwards. Of course, you can now explore more questions, you can add more variables to it, but the method is going to be the same. You identify the question, you identify what column you want to involve, you identify what do you want to do with that column, and then you create the pivot table and it's there. And this brings me to the last part, which is data visualization and storytelling. And this is where the charting comes in. So let's actually, as I said, it's a numerical table. We can make sense out of it. But let's say now you want to tell this information to your marketing team. And for that, you actually look at the questions and then you do some plotting. And based on your question, there could be a lot of type of charts that you may want to plot. So for example, I come back to my screen, and here I want to do, let's say we insert a chart. So we um, select the data and we go to insert and we insert a chart. Google proposes what is the best type of chart for this, and it said pie chart. Pie chart is indeed the right choice here because pie chart is very good when you have ratio. So there were how many? 427 orders, and out of that, 66.86% of orders were placed by the people between 18 to 30 years, and the next in line is 40 to 50, and then this and this and this. And this is now easy to represent that there is one chunk which is taking a huge amount of portion for your data. You can also add a number of other charts to observe the same thing. So for example, I can select the data and I can also insert chart, and from the right side, I don't want a pie chart now. From the right side, I can pick that I want to see, let's say, a column chart. And this is also giving me a similar, it's also giving me a similar information in absolute numbers. There I had in pie chart, I had ratios, and here I have now in absolute numbers that, okay, below 18 to 30 is this much, and 40 to 50 has this much value, and 30 to 40, and so on and so forth. And based on, again, your type of data, you can use an appropriate type of visualization. If you have regional data, you can go for maps. If you have a lot of random data, you can check for scatter plots, and so on and so forth. And this is, we are 99.5% done with our data analysis pipeline. Uh, what we have done so far is all from our point of view as a data analyst. Now you want to go in front of your board and you want to present your data. So let's do that. And now we can move away from our sheets, but go back to Google again, and you can use Google Slides for a presentation. What you would do is, from the apps, you would select the slides and you can pick up slides. It will give you, you can pick up a blank slide or you can start with a nice background. It's totally upon you. And here you can give a market analysis heading. Yeah, market analysis, analysis, and how our customer segment look like. did you notice this is already an inviting question? That now you are presenting and you are creating the curiosity of your audience, that you have done a market analysis and now you are going to present how our customer segment looks looks like, or segments look like. And then you can add a new slide and you can copy the charts that you have made. You can simply copy them and you can bring them here and paste them here. And now you can, but now it's up to you. How do you want to present that data? I don't want to have the slide. I don't want to have this. And this is, I'll add one more slide and I'll say, okay, I'll also add my pie chart here. And you can even edit the charts to make them more, change their colors and everything that you want. And let's paste that here. And a very good idea is to give them recommendations. Of course, you will be presenting. So you will be saying that, hey, our market analysis shows that this is the age distribution, and from the point of view, our 68.6% are of our customer is, how much was it? 68.6% is wrong key press. I hope you see my screen. I just realized you were not seeing my screen. So what I did, I came to Google Slides, and by selecting an app from here, I selected the Google slide instead of Sheets now, and then I added 3 slides. My title slide is market analysis, how our customer segments look like. And then I added the copy pasted the 2 graphs from there to here. And now I'm giving recommendations. So 68.6% is 18 to 30-year people, and offer loyalty programs for them. And maybe we want to also show that our least loyal segment is above 50. And for above 50 people, maybe we want to have better targeted ads. And this is our recommendation. And now you can actually tell your story that, hey, this is the analysis that we did. This is the fact that tells us that data is telling us something. This is another way to see the data, but this is also verifying our point of view. And these are my recommendations. And this, using this, you actually complete your whole picture. And you need to tell a compelling story. You don't need to tell how many data points were there, what analysis did you do. You don't have to tell them that you created a pivot table and this is how you find this out. You simply need to tell the story which resonates with your audience. And that's basically it. If you actually are still with me, you have actually done your first data analytics project. And I am now open to questions, and I would like to have Laura back so that we can take up the questions and take it forward from here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Humera. This has been super informative so far, and judging by how many questions we received, it looks like our attendees enjoyed it as well. I just want to remind everyone before we jump onto the questions that we will be sending you a recording of the webinar afterwards. So if you missed anything, you can rewatch it and go through the process once again. Also, if there's anyone out there who's thinking about maybe doing the data analytics program with CareerFoundry, remember that we are currently offering a career change scholarship worth up to $1,130 and 965 euros of the data analytics program. To claim, just simply Click on the sticky note on the right-hand side to book a call with a program advisor. And now let's take a few questions. We have a ton, but let's see how many we can get through. So the first one is, Laura, another Laura, wants to know, how do you determine whether a data set is large enough to produce statistically significant analysis?
Number one, that's a very good question, and it comes with experience. And you actually you start small. You you start small. You use whatever you have. You make the analysis, and then only you can find out that the data doesn't make sense. So, for example, if just by looking at this data, we were able to identify some trends. So this data set was good enough size for our analysis. But if you would like to have more deeper insights that which days of the month are more popular, uh, then this data is not enough. So you start, and it depends on your questions, and a little analysis will let you know if this was enough or not.
Great. We have another question from Chyla, who says, who asks, what is the recommended software for infographics?
For infographics, not infographics in particular, but for data visualization in general, to get started, Google Sheets or Excel is good, but Tableau is one of the most popular um, data visualization tool out there, and it has a capability for handling textual data as well and generate graphics too.
Great to know. We have another question from Will, who says, who wants to know, what is the expected salary range for a person starting out, no analyst experience, in a junior position in Germany?
I would personally refrain from answering this question because this really depends on the industry that you are talking about. But data analysis is one of the high paying jobs out there. So if you don't have a so for example, from my company experience, I know that data analysts actually get uh, more salary than a regular programmer. But this actually depends a lot on the industry that we are talking about, and also you mentioned Germany, but this also depends on the region.
Now, Muhammad wants to know, he's working as a management in management accounting, but wants to become a data analyst. He asks, shall I start learning programming languages to become one?
I won't recommend starting with a programming language. I would start with this pipeline that we just uh, discussed, because as you can see, there is a lot of analysis that we can do already without programming. And I have been associated with the CareerFoundry as a mentor for almost 2 years now, and I can recommend that the pace that we take here, no advertising. I was not expecting this question, but what I have seen and found very interesting is in this course, we start with Excel, go with a couple of visualization tools like Tableau, and then move towards programming. So then we move towards SQL and Python, and then how to create your portfolio on GitHub, etc. And this is a very nice journey because it doesn't overwhelm you. It gives you the concepts first using easier to learn tools, and then brings you towards programming.
The next question is a little related to this one. Which coding program between Python, SQL, and the other ones are best for beginners?
Um, it really depends on what you want to do. Python is used for a very different set of problems, and SQL is there for a very different set of problems. So when you have structured data and you want to access a database and you don't want to do a lot of analysis on that, but you want to do more ins and outs of the data, it's more SQL. When your data is very unstructured and when you need to do a lot of processing, then you say Python. Uh, the bottom line is that you cannot say start with this or start with that or learn this and you won't need the other one. In a best case scenario, you would need to know all of them a little bit. So all means an analytical tool like Google Sheet or Excel, a little bit of SQL, a little bit of Python, and then only you will make a good package, a Gesamtpaket, as we say in German, a complete package of a data analyst.
Great. And we have another great question from Chalia. Any key differences between Google Sheets and Microsoft Excel?
Um, to begin with, Microsoft Excel is a licensed software. So you need to purchase this. It costs you. Google Sheet you can start online for free. Google Sheet is not made for hardcore data analysis. Excel is. So if you want to go ahead with little data sets, practice programs, then Google Sheet is a good start. If you want to have heavy duty data sets, then go for Excel. You will notice as soon as your data set size will increase, like 10,000, 100,000 rows, Google Sheet will become very slow and it won't be able to handle those data points.
We have a question from Preet now, who asks, do you need to be, I'm sorry, from Laura, actually, we already did Preet's question. I currently work in marketing and I want to change careers to data analytics. I plan to do some data analytics training and then I'd like to get some real experience before applying for a job. Do you think that's necessary and how could I best go about this?
That's a very good journey to have to get some experience by practicing and then moving on. Typically, if you want to have a course like CareerFoundry, again, no advertisement, sorry, but I really like the way this program has been planned. You start learning the tools and then you have a job orientation program. And while you are learning the tools, you are working on real data sets. And all these go into your CV and so-called portfolio. So at the end of this course, you are actually, you come equipped with real world projects that you can showcase. One more thing which I can strongly recommend and that I often recommend my students is to try out freelancing. So you can, for example, try out Upwork, create your account there. On Upwork, you can find projects at it's a freelancing project, so you don't have to get a full-time commitment with your prospective employer. Um, you can get a project, work on it, set your rate, practice. Initially set a lower rate so that you can get more projects. Then as you practice, you become a more proficient, then you can move towards increasing your rate or towards a full-time job. So freelancing is definitely a recommended option to go and get projects.
Great way to get a real world experience, right?
Exactly.
We have a great question from Carlos. In fact, this is a very popular question during our webinars. What would be the bigger challenge for a career changer within the 40s? So the 40 age bracket.
Biggest challenge. People will automatically consider you as senior and may not want to have you at a lower or beginner position because they would always say, but you are senior, so you would expect a higher salary. And this happened with me myself. I wanted to make a career switch. And for that, I wanted to go into a junior role of another career. And they didn't want to have me because, hey, you are already senior, so why don't you continue with that? And for that, I would actually recommend again what I just said. Freelancing is a very good option. There, people do not care what the age is, what your previous experience is, where you are located. If you can show that you can do the work, it's yours. So nothing to be demotivated about.
Great to know. Yolanda has a question about your day-to-day. The question is, besides the stakeholders, do you also interact with data scientists? And is it possible to grow this position as well?
Good question. So data analysts and data scientists are part of a spectrum. Data analyst is more on the non-programming side of things, and they don't try to predict a lot of things. As you just saw in our example, we didn't say, tell me how many orders would 70 plus age bracket people will place, because that information is simply not in the data, and we're not trying to predict what's not in the data. We are simply trying to uncover what's in the data, and this is what data analyst does, and this is where you don't need those sophisticated programming languages and skills. On the other hand side, data scientists will answer these questions. Okay, I have the data for these 5 age categories. Now let me predict what this sixth category of age we will have as an answer. And there you need to then have machine learning, Python would be needed, and all this stuff would be needed. Typically, data analysts and data scientists can and cannot work together. So some teams, this really depends on the requirement. Some teams may need to predict things, so they would have data analysts. Some teams do not need to predict things. They just need to uncover trends. Then they will only have a data analyst.
Great answer. And just to be mindful of time, I will take one more question. But like I said, you can always rewatch the webinar later. So the last question is, what's the one best data visualization tool for someone new? Power BI, Tableau, or QuickSense?
I'm biased. I'll go for Tableau. I've worked with Power BI a little bit as well, and Tableau as well. Personally, I haven't worked with QuickSense, so I'll leave that out. But if I also look at the market trends, then Tableau is the most popular one, and also easy to use and cost-free as well.
Thank you so much. This has been such a great presentation, Dr. Humera, and great questions, everyone. I'm sorry we couldn't answer them all. I want to be mindful of time. We've gone over time. We have tons of great questions, but there won't be enough time to answer all of them. However, like I said, we will be sending out a recording of the webinar by email to everyone that attended. So you can rewatch it if there's anything that you missed. Also very important, like I already said, if there's anyone out there interested in maybe doing the data analytics program with CareerFoundry, remember that we're currently offering career change scholarships worth up to $1,130 of the data analytics program. So to claim it, simply click on the sticky note on the right-hand side to book a call with a program advisor. Also, please check out the CareerFoundry events page and check out our Instagram stories as well. There's lots of great events coming up soon, and we'll be posting about them, so keep an eye out for that. And to wrap up, Dr. Humera, thank you so much for taking the time to present today. This was a great introduction to data analytics for everyone interested in entering the field. I wish everyone a good evening or a good morning wherever you are, and until next time, so good evening and see you soon, everyone.
Till next time. Bye.